Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Bitcoin and Beyond. No, welcome to Stacks Pulse. That's one way to start the show. I said to Gareth before we started, I do not know where I am. My son started high school this year. All right, so I'm Melanie Carstens, and this is Stacks Pulse. Today I'm joined by Gareth Grobler. He is from South Africa, based in London, and he is the founder of Layers Wallet. He is a passionate about adoption of Bitcoin, and he's been building, I think, in Web3 since 2012. Welcome, Gareth.
Hi, Mel. Yeah, thank you for that. It's fun being here. I appreciate the opportunity. Slight few corrections there. Co-founder, because I'll get in trouble if I go taking full credit.
Okay.
Been in the space since 2012.
Amazing. Well, that is a very long time. You mentioned relationship or knowing Carl from Money Badger. I also want to talk about Money Badger later. I think that's very well known here in South Africa, so we can touch on that. But before we get into the show, I'm interested in your Bitcoin story. You mentioned that it's been a long time. So how did you find Bitcoin? Or how did it find you?
Yeah, well, it found me really. I tend to work in. My wife always says, why don't you just sell shoes? Because the stuff you get involved with is always way out there. It's got nothing to do with your personality or who you are. So I worked on a project for the National Health Service. Well, I worked on a project for opticians in the UK. And as you know, the National Health Service pays for everything there. But the actual opticians spend more time doing paperwork with vouchers that they need to claim their money from the government than they do doing the actual eye tests. And this is like they've got domiciliary eye care. So opticians go to people's homes, usually old people, disabled people, stuff like that. Long story short, this was sort of iPads really took off, and it was back sort of beginning of 2012, 2011. Anyway, so I was talking to a guy and I said, this is ridiculous, man. How can you guys take that long? And they said, these are the issues. And anyway, within sort of 4 months, we had a prototype where they didn't have to do any paperwork. They could do everything with an iPad, and it's all sort of automated and does the whole payment mechanism, claims the vouchers from the government. It just does everything in the background, so they could actually spend time doing eye tests. Yeah. And part of that process was payment mechanisms. And I was in a forum somewhere, I can't even remember where, and people were talking about this Bitcoin thing. And I've got one of those inquisitive minds where I do not like not knowing what's going on. I've always been very interested in how con artists get away with stuff. And I thought it was a scam. I was like, this is a scam. I know it for a fact. It has to be a scam. I just need to figure out what the angle is. Like, how does the scammer behind everything actually make money out of this?
Inspector Grobler.
And I couldn't figure it out. And, it frustrated me. I actually went away for, I think there's like 5 days I went off. I do these mental health breaks where I go and think. I said to my wife, I need to go and figure this out. So anyway, I got back, and it was a guy called Charlie Shrem, because I was calling people and connecting with people and chatting to people to sort of figure out where's the scam. Anyway, so he explained it to me, and after I had this chat with him, I was like, okay, I get it. I actually get it. Bitcoin is not a payment system. It's not a store of value. It's not a medium. It's none of these things. In essence, it's literally an insurance against government money. That's literally what it is. And the sort of penny dropped, and we didn't even finish the software project with the opticians. I was hooked. We ended up just selling the project to the NHS directly, and since then I've been in Bitcoin.
So that was 2012, roughly 2013. Wow, that is a long time. What was your background before that? Were you a developer? Well,
no, I worked for Investec. I was a infrastructure engineer. I built banking infrastructure.
Right. You said something which I love. I actually saw a quote on your X the other day, which I absolutely loved. And you said, um, Bitcoin is hard money, and apart from knowledge, it's the only thing you can truly own. Let's talk about that. I
Yeah.
love that quote.
Yeah. Look, I think this is the thing, people think, oh, I've bought my house and I own my house. And you sort of do, but the only reason you own it is because other people agree that you own it.
Yeah.
You only really own it because there's a piece of paper and the government says you own it. But what do you think is going to happen? I mean, in South Africa, anything can happen. But what do you think is going to happen? Let's take the UK, for example. If you don't pay your council tax and if you don't pay your taxes, it's not your house anymore.
Yeah.
You can't really do with the house really just what you want. It's not really yours. There's all sorts of restrictions on you. So this it's a bit like freedom. A lot of people think they have freedom, but they're sort of debt slaves. They're debt slaves. And for me, Bitcoin is the closest thing. And I know it's not tangible, and people usually argue with me about this, but it's very much like knowledge. It's something that you can't touch, but you can't lose it. I mean, you can't lose it. You can lose your knowledge if you have medical. If there's a medical incident, you can lose your knowledge too. But I think what I'm saying is it's not the kind of thing that somebody can just come and take from you. You can lose your money, you can lose all sorts of things, but nobody can just come and take it.
Yeah. That's the thing. It is the hardest thing. I also read somewhere else, the time is the only finite resource.
Yeah.
Somewhere is something else. So just these two things kind of are so fascinating to me that, when that penny drops, it's like time is the only thing that runs out and Bitcoin is the only thing you can truly own. It's like really, to me, just makes everything make sense with those words. So I love that. I know, I mean, look at South Africa, what's it? Expropriation without compensation.
Compensation, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, you've got all these things, but you're touching on an interesting point there, and that's the thing with time. Time and money is so closely related and so closely connected because ultimately, we've got this misconception that money is something, that's an actual thing. And in reality, it simply represents energy X time. It's energy times time. It's your labor. It's the energy that you spend and the time, the duration of how much of that energy you spend. So that's what money is. It's literally a representation of labor. And that's why the one can't happen without the other. They're very, very closely connected.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's the thing, right? I mean, how else do you prove that you were here and that you did something for a period of time? And then you'll be able to exchange that for your time for something else,
Well, more so, why would you do it?
Why would you do what?
Like, why would you spend that time on something? You're going to spend it for a reason. And that reason is going to be one of two things. You're either going to get like a pleasure from it, or there's going to be a reward that you can't touch, or there's going to be a reward that you can use for something else that you want. So it's, you spend your time to satisfy your needs and wants.
Or like you said just now, you're just a debt slave. So
ultimately, this is the bit that the majority of population, I mean, it's something that doesn't even cross their minds. And you don't know what you don't know. And people are shocked when you sort of talk like that or think like that. But yeah, majority of us are simply debt slaves.
Why don't people understand the freedom? Why do you think people aren't as concerned about sovereignty and ownership like we are?
Laziness. Again, you don't know what you don't know. And if there's no pain, then what's gonna, nobody wants to go through pain unless you're a UFC fighter or something. But if there's no pain, why are people going to think about it? And again, it's this perception that I'm free and I can do this and I can do that. But unless you actually get to the point where your bank account is frozen or your PayPal account is frozen, or you buy something this week and literally next week you need double the money.
Yeah.
Nothing happens quickly and nothing happens in a large scale. And this is why it's something that sits at the back of most people's minds. They, if you really go and have a discussion with them, most logical people will get to that answer. But it's not something, because there's no pain, they don't think about it.
It's like the boiling a frog slowly philosophy, isn't it?
It's exactly that. It's exactly that. And also we're doing this on Thursday or Friday. I don't know. Louis and I are doing this thing. I did it I just don't know what I did with the content, but we did it like 10 years ago in Cape Town, where we just went and asked people, how money is made. And they can't tell you. Nobody can tell you how money is made. People will say, oh, it's printed, or, the government makes it. Nobody can actually tell you how money is made. And you're literally standing there with 100 Rand note, and you go, look, you can have it. Yeah. If you can tell me how it's made, you can have it.
Yeah.
No, I've never had to pay anyone. Really? So we're going to go and, I've never had to pay anyone. I mean, if you're in a Bitcoin, even in Bitcoin circles, not everybody knows. But if you speak to a bunch of Bitcoiners, they're going to tell you how money is made. But do yourself a favor, walk into the streets and ask anybody, how's money made? No, they're going to tell you there's two answers. Either they say it's printed, or they say that the government makes it. That's it. That's the answer. That's the answer you get. Answer? Well, there's two right answers. So roughly 3-4% of money is made by the government through debt instruments, through bonds. But that's only about 3-4% of money is made that way. 96% of money is made by banks out of nothing, literally out of thin air. You go and, a simple example, you go and say, it's debt interest. You go and say, borrow 100,000. No, that's not going to buy you a car. Borrow 1 million Rand to buy a car. They just go onto a screen and type in 1 million Rand, and now all of a sudden your account's got 1 million Rand. That money doesn't actually exist anywhere, but it's a debt. And let's say, to make it easy, you're going to borrow the money for a year and pay it back after a year with 10% interest. And this is not financial advice, and I don't give loans. But if you go to the bank and they do that for you, after a year you give them the 1 million Rand back, and they go and draw a line through the million that you loaned. So the money that they created from nothing, they've put back, so the books balance. But you pay 10% interest. Now that 10% interest, they've literally created money from nothing that didn't exist. Now it exists. So debt interest, that's how they make money. Literally create money.
Yeah, makes me so angry every time I hear that story, and I don't understand why, every time I hear somebody talk about it, because I don't understand why everybody else isn't so pissed off.
Because it works. And,
it doesn't really,
we live in this consumer culture where, the majority of stuff that's being produced is not needed. It's just stuff people want, but they don't most people don't actually want it. They think they want it.
Yeah.
And because it's easy, because there's your credit card, I can just get that, bang, I'll buy it. It's like you guys were talking about the other day with, Darlington, what was his name?
Oh,
Nick. You were talking with Nick, and you were talking about shopping. And it's that whole idea of, if I'm paying, Bitcoin is not an easier payment mechanism. If you use it as a payment mechanism, it's not easier. It's much easier for me to literally just go and tap my watch onto, I don't even take my phone out. I literally just tap my watch onto a terminal and I've paid. There's nothing easier than that. So the friction's completely removed. Bitcoin's got friction when you use it as a payment mechanism. But the bit that people miss is, man, if I've got Bitcoin, I actually think before I spend it on something. Yeah. Because I go, okay, do I need it now? And do I really need it? Am I going to, it's almost like a positive friction. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's a positive thing. Because, when you tap the credit card, you don't think about the bill pitching up. And I mean, you don't even get a physical bill anymore. It's an email that you don't open.
Yeah.
But you don't think about that. You sort of just like, I see it, I want it, I'm able to buy it. I can't afford it, but I'm
Mm,
able to do it. So why
mm.
not? And that sort of, there's this, there's that ridiculous vicious circle that then goes, if people are going to buy stuff without needing it, then let's produce more stuff that people don't need and let's market it. And it's just it's just a vicious circle.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's like the reason why people drink as well. It's like a buffering, shopping and drinking. It's like
A reason.
yeah, it's the only reason. I think it's one of the reasons. It's similar to that. It's kind of this like buffering to the hell. So it's like this terrible cycle you get on. It's like the hamster in the wheel. As much as you don't really want to say that, because it's been used so many
Spot
times.
on.
But it's like, pardon?
Spot on.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, I'm going to keep going. Oh, I saw that in the shop. Exactly what you're saying. I did a test for when the QR code first came out, 2 years ago, whenever it was. I thought, okay, let me do a test for a month buying my groceries with Bitcoin. I think I was talking about this on the show that day. Normally, I just walk through and I just throw anything and I just drop the card and who cares? Like you said, it's not even money. It's like a little piece of plastic that miraculously pays for everything. Well, when I was about to use my Bitcoin, let me tell you, that little trolley had like one layer of things in. You know what I mean? We can eat a chicken for 2 days instead of just throwing things away as well that I hadn't, half eaten food and stuff. Very wasteful. So it does. It curbs because suddenly it has value.
It lets you think, and that's what I'm saying. I see it as a positive friction. I mean, yeah, there's lots of, we can get onto that later, but there's lots of stuff that can improve. But I think the idea, it's a bit like, when the UK, the worldwide, there's a big push to get rid of cash. And I can see the benefits. That'd be great if there were no cash in transit heists, because there is no cash for them to move around. So I can see the benefits, but for somebody, especially people who earn a lot less, I mean, chances are they are not the most educated, they're not the most intellectual people. Now, for somebody like that, I mean, you see these videos on TikTok where, the daughter opens the bill and she goes, well, I've already paid for my product. Why am I being billed by American Express? And then the mother goes, well, you haven't paid for it. You used the card. Yeah, but I've paid for the product with the card. And it's like she can't get it. She doesn't see that she's got to, and it's that mentality, it just makes it so easy that you stop thinking completely. And then you become a follower. You start getting the offers and, oh, but the bank loves me because look, they're giving me interest free. And it's all these products that created on top of it. And yeah, it's not good. You're going to struggle to create a lot of these products that I think are harmful. You're going to struggle to create that product on a Bitcoin standard. That's not going to happen. So, but also Bitcoin can't exist. I'm also not the maxi that sort of goes, oh, everything's got to change to Bitcoin, because it's simply not feasible. So, we definitely won't go there.
Yeah. Let's talk about, I mean, you've been around in the space for a long time, passionate about it. I met you, I think it was last year, in the Stacks ecosystem with Layers Wallet. So let's talk about Layers and how that came about. What made you decide, okay, I'm going to build a wallet? Because it's not the easiest thing to do.
So, I mean, I can't, yeah, all right. So, I mean, I started off with an exchange that went horribly wrong, and that's still a dragged out legal thing. So I won't go too much into that. Yeah. And then, be careful who you get in bed with. But anyway, yeah, I can't say too much about that, but it boils down to, it just went belly up. But anyway, the team that I was also always working with different people in different parts. And the team that behind Layers wallets are the same people that I've worked with on another wallet, which I won't name, but that was one of the first Lightning wallets, and pretty much one of the most popular ones still today in the world. But there's you
can't talk about it.
Well, it's I'll tell you all about it when I see you. It's okay. It's the main reason is that it's a hardcore wallet, and this is the reason why there's no way to make money out of it, because it literally just stores money. It's open source. It just stores Bitcoin. You can send and receive. That's it. So there's no way for us to change that product into something that can actually, pay our wages. So we were sitting, myself and my co-founder were sitting sort of August 24, and we're like, okay, we've got this passion project, which is great, but we can't make a living out of that. So what do we do? And we saw the industry sort of moving a lot of, a lot of the promise that, again, Bitcoin is something different for different people. And a lot of the promise that came out of blockchain and smart contracts was fulfilled by Ethereum, Tron, all these other chains. But we started noticing that, in our groups, in our communities, a lot of people sort of left Ethereum and came back to Bitcoin to come and develop on Rootstock or Stacks or, some of the new products that came out, Arc and Spark, stuff like that. So we thought, okay, well, this is great. And yes, we get all this brain power coming back into the Bitcoin ecosystem. And why would you build on any of these other blockchains if you can build on Bitcoin? Like, it just makes sense. You should build on Bitcoin. Extend the functionality of Bitcoin. So anyway, what we were thinking, we looked at it and we were like, okay, but one of the big problems here is that you need to have a different wallet for pretty much every layer 2 out there. It might support Bitcoin and this, but it won't support Bitcoin and that. And that was a bit of a tricky one. And we thought, okay, the negative thing for Bitcoin is that it now creates these silos, because value gets locked up in the Stacks ecosystem or in the Liquid ecosystem. And that's sort of just a different flavor of the same problem, where people went to Ethereum and all the other blockchains. So we thought, okay, well, really it should start with a user, and it doesn't really matter what happens in the back end. Like when you use your phone and your computer, you don't really care whether it's Amazon or Google servers, or you don't care what happens in the back end. You just want to do a video call. So we thought we need to give users the same thing. So we thought, okay, let's build a wallet that is Bitcoin native and supports all the Bitcoin layer 2s. And what would it be? Just over a year later, we went into production a couple of months ago. No, Amazing. A couple of weeks ago, actually. So it's officially available on the Play Store and the App Store, I think 2 weeks now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's 2 years in. And then you've mentioned, obviously Bitcoin, I think when people often think of Bitcoin, they kind of think, especially outside the circles, it's like just Bitcoin. And then everything else is happening everywhere else. There's all these other cryptos, But Bitcoin is actually sort of growing, not beyond Bitcoin, but it's like you said, it's becoming more user-friendly. There's other things being built on it. You've mentioned Stacks, Liquid, Lightning, Rootstock. There's all sorts of things that you can do. Now, you've incorporated or are incorporating all of this into Layers Wallet. What is going on behind the scenes? Is it all, are people using, like if they are using Stacks, for example, is their Bitcoin being converted? You know what I mean? Are they holding those different currencies when you're talking about layer 2s? And on the other ones, like how does it work in the back end side of it? If you've got all these different, not too technical, but I'm just curious.
No, I'll keep it simple.
Yeah, because we talk about it a lot, this whole like exactly what you said. Like people don't really need to know what's going on. I was talking to Nick about it the other day where it's not ideal, but where people are converting, you're paying in rands or you're paying in rands and it's being converted to Bitcoin or whatever behind the scenes, or you're paying in Bitcoin. Yes, they're banking in rand and you're paying in Bitcoin. But yeah, so I'm just sort of interested roughly on how that kind of works with Layers. And is that why it's called Layers?
Yeah. So, simply put, its first thing is it's a self-custodial wallet. It's got non-custodial functionality, but it's ultimately a self-custodial wallet. And, this is something I argue with a lot of people over. They think self-custody and non-custodial is the same thing, and it's not. It's two completely different things. But yeah, it's a self-custody wallet. But the difference is the sign up, we've looked at all the different steps, right from the onboarding part through to the using part. One of the biggest problems with onboarding people, and you should come to my talk. It's going to be interesting. It's about
What is
so
it
one of
about?
the biggest
Sorry, I interrupted you. What is it about?
buzzwords break Bitcoin. How to onboard with analogies.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it should be good. So one of the biggest things is the typical situation is, I meet you in a coffee shop, we start talking, we talk about Bitcoin, and you go, okay, I want this, I want in. And the first thing people do is they go, where do I get Bitcoin? And, that's the wrong question to be asking. The first thing you should be asking is, when that happens to me, I immediately go, that's the wrong question. You shouldn't be asking that. You should be asking, where do I store Bitcoin? Once you understand how to store it, you won't be asking people where you can buy it. You'll know. But one of the big problems, just to come back to that, is we're sitting in this coffee shop, and I'm telling you about Bitcoin, and now I go, okay, download wallet XYZ, whatever wallet, and pretty much through the bank, there's going to be two things. Firstly, I'm going to say, if I've got time and we're in a private environment in your office. I'll probably advise you to get a non-custodial wallet, a self-custodial wallet, because you'll have the time and the environment to write down the keys, verify that it's the right keys, etc., etc. Or if, like I said, we're in the coffee shop, I'm going to say, download this wallet, and chances are it's going to be one of the custodial wallets. But I want to get you on there quickly. So I go, okay, download this exchange's wallet or download this wallet, but it's custodial, because then we don't have that problem where I'm now getting stuck with you doing seed words and stuff in a coffee shop. So that's the first thing we did, is we removed that so that you can literally just skip the seed word phrase. And then when the user starts using the wallet going forward, it'll start firstly just gently reminding them, look, you need to verify that you've written down your seed words by doing this test, blah, blah, blah. And then it gets to a point where it will only display your balances and tell you to go and verify that you've got the seed words written down. And if you can't send them unless you've done this.
Okay, so it actually really encourages you. It's like, okay, you've had enough time.
I think it's after like 3 months or 4 months. So it takes time. But it starts bothering you, and it starts sending you notifications. It starts irritating you after like 2-3 weeks. But that way, the person onboarding you doesn't need to sort of hold your hand and make sure that you didn't actually go and do your seed backup. But anyway, back the magic part of it is it's one seed word. So you only have 12 seed words. It's one seed. You only have 12 seed words, and what it does is it creates. So we call them pockets. So it'll create 5 pockets, and each pocket will have all of the layers inside it. So it'll be an individual. So there's a Bitcoin layer where that's Bitcoin. It's pure Bitcoin. There's a Lightning layer that works on the Lightning network, and we use Spark and Arc for that. And there's a Stacks layer. There's a rootstock layer. So it's like a separate wallet inside that pocket. And that's the same for each pocket, but it all comes from one seed. And if layers disappears, then you can just take that seed and put it in any other wallet, and it'll still give you. You might have to go download 4 or 5 different wallets, but you put the same seed in, and it'll give you those individual wallets. And then what we've done is we've integrated different third-party swap mechanisms so that you can actually swap between these layers. So if you're in rootstock and you now want to do something in Arc, you can go, okay, well, transfer whatever amount of stacks to rootstock or Lightning, whatever, like in between the layers. So whichever, so you don't, you can manage your balances without moving from one app to another app, because this is where a lot of people lose money. They make mistakes. They send money to the wrong addresses. If you want to send funds from, I don't know, your Bitcoin wallet to your Stacks wallet, you're not typing in addresses. You're literally just saying, send X amount from here to there.
So they're almost, if you're thinking about it from like a, what one's fiat banking app would look like, it's pretty much like just putting those little transfer. I want to transfer from my business account to my personal account or to my credit card. It's as simple as doing it like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Think about it like it's a bit like, so you've got, I don't know if you haven't got Revolut here, do you? So with Revolut, for example, you've got 10 different currencies in your banking app. and you hold money in each currency, and
Yeah.
you can just swap between them without
So does the
just
swap,
literally say send it from here to there.
is there a swap happening? If you're going to look at stacks, it's obviously a different currency to Bitcoin. Where is that swap happening? Is that built into, so if you got almost like an exchange or
So,
you're using something else, how does that work?
so that's smart contracts that uses dexes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got bolts integrated, we've got sideshift integrated, we've got lots of different swap providers that we've integrated to be able to swap between all these different. So you're never taking your funds and putting it on an exchange and opening a buy order or a sell order. It's atomic swap. So
Right.
it gets matched immediately.
Yeah, it's just happening behind the scenes. Okay.
Yeah.
And I just want to clarify one last thing. One seed phrase. So that then, does that open up? You don't actually have to have, obviously you don't have to have the other wallets. You just open it up and it automatically will open up, like with stacks, you need to have an Xverse or a Leather wallet. So does that, I suppose any Bitcoin wallet, like you said, sorry, I'm just kind of trying to work it out in my head. Any Bitcoin wallet you can open with your seed phrase. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but that's only going to be Bitcoin. So, for example, the way to think about it is, let's say you want to interact with Liquid and Stacks. That's a good example. So, if you want to interact with Liquid and Stacks, you're going to need a Liquid wallet that has Bitcoin and Liquid, and you're going to need like Aqua wallet, for example, that does Bitcoin and Liquid, and then you're going to need Xverse, for example, that does stacks and Bitcoin. So you're going to need two separate wallets. Whereas with layers, all of those wallets most of the wallets have got, most of them, the origin of most wallets is as a result of the layer 2. So the layer 2 would work with people or go and build a Bitcoin and their layer wallet. So nobody has sort of gone and said, okay, well, we're agnostic. We're not going to be promoting or supporting any specific layer 2. We'll let users decide. The wallets are all there. They're all created. If you don't want to use them, you can, it's not in the current release, but the end product will be where you can enable or disable different layers. So if you're not interested in Liquid, then just disable the layer and you won't see it.
Right.
But yeah, that's the idea.
Okay, so you've mentioned stacks. I'm interested in why you're interested in stacks. Like, what is it that drew you to stacks? Because a lot of people who are kind of, there's the side of Bitcoin that is like Bitcoin and Bitcoin and Bitcoin, and it's interesting for me to always meet or talk to somebody who kind of goes, okay, there's something else that's interesting here. What is it for you?
So, it's probably broader than that. There's this idea that, some people will tell Bitcoin and Bitcoin only, and the whole world can transact on Bitcoin. But technically, that's impossible. And I did this in a talk I gave in Mauritius, where I was saying to them, okay, and these are Bitcoin people, and I said, right, if there's an orange button that you can press, and immediately when you press the button, the fiat system just disappears, and all that we have is Bitcoin, right? Then the world literally grinds to a halt. The world will literally stop working right there and then. With the minute you press the button, the world stops, because Bitcoin won't stop. Bitcoin will keep working. It'll work exactly as designed. But there simply isn't enough capacity on the Bitcoin network for the whole world to use it as a payment mechanism. It's not possible. There's not enough UTX. It doesn't exist. You can't do it. So therefore, you need to, if you really want Bitcoin to make an impact, that's the one thing. And then secondly, if you're going to be, if you want Bitcoin to act as an insurance against sort of fiat money, that's money out of thin air, if you want to go on the hard money standard, people aren't now going to say, okay, well, I only want to be able to pay you for something, and that's, you use that money to pay somebody else for something. Financial products aren't just going to disappear. There's tons of stuff out there that in the financial world, in the finance world, that you can't do those things on on the main Bitcoin. Payments, for example, it's a good example. To keep it simple, you can't expect somebody to wait 10 minutes for a confirmation when they buy a coffee. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go buy a car, then yes, of course, it's going to take you more than 10 minutes to complete the paperwork. So that's fine. It works in that scenario. But if you want to buy a coffee, I mean, that's ridiculous. You want instant payments. You want small amounts. You want it instant. You want it final. So you need layer twos. You need Lightning. You need Spark. You need Arc. Smart contracts where, for example, collateralized loans, all of these things. These services aren't just going to disappear. You need them. And you can't really do that on a Bitcoin only track. Therefore, you need different layer twos, and which ones are going to be the winners, which ones are going to be losers. That's down to the market to decide. Currently, there's, I think, 83 layer two projects to various degrees of success and adoption. But yeah, there's roughly 83 Bitcoin layer two projects out there. We've integrated. We're busy with another one now that should come fairly soon. But we've integrated I think the main 8 or 9 layer twos on Bitcoin. And this is the thing. People go, what about Sol? Solana is so fast, and it does this and it does that. Well, no, because now you can do everything you can do on Solana on Bitcoin or Bitcoin's layer twos. And then if you start comparing the two, why would you now bother with Solana? Because you can do it on Bitcoin. So this is why Stacks came up, obviously, because Stacks has been around, 10 years? I think it's about 10 years.
About 10 years.
Yeah, but obviously Stacks,
there was name Stacks, but yes, before.
Yeah, but obviously there's lots of stuff that's also, and this is the thing, things need time to develop. You can't just magically do it within a week and now it's there. So Stacks didn't really answer the call up until about 18 months ago. That's when now Stacks becomes a real contender because it can do NFTs, it can do smart contracts. Now it's becoming something that actually has real utility, and you can build financial systems around it. The DeFi net, I mean, you go and know the guys from Stacking DAO and Zest, for example. So now there's use case for it. So that's why obviously we had to put it in there. And NFTs have been something that's been very frustrating for me, because I started off on the point of, look, man, an NFT is like a Beanie Baby. It's a complete waste of time. I'm not somebody who collects. So I'm not a collector. All right. So
I was going to say, have you watched The King of Collectibles?
No, but that's what I'm saying. For me personally, there's zero value in collecting stuff. It's just shit that takes up your mind and your space. Like I'm not a collector, right? But I recognize that it's a huge industry and it's something people do. And I'm not knocking it. I mean, it exists. But yeah, so NFTs for me is a collectible, and there's functionality around the utility of it as a collectible. And we've talked about this, I think, in previous shows, but then there's other things you can do if there is infrastructure built around it. So Stacks is probably, I mean, I know there's inscriptions, but Stacks for me is probably, on a Bitcoin standard, is probably the way you would go with NFTs right now. I mean, Spark are catching up fairly rapidly. I know Arc are working on their digital assets, but yeah, I mean, the main rootstock have got it. So I think, but the Stacks is the main one. It's got the bigger development community. Stacks has got a huge following actually, but it's also got massive problems. So these are the types of things that we think, they need to be solved. One of the most recent ones is we realized that, we've sort of built it on our wallet on normal standards, and we realized, okay, we've got Stacks, but we can't connect anywhere. And then we found out pretty much everywhere have hard coded the two main Stacks wallets. So you can't now just go and buy a wallet or create a wallet and connect it into Gamma, for example. Like, they've got a hard coded on their side, which is where Ethereum shines. MetaMask has got a standard, wallet connect protocol. You build a wallet and it connects. So, so that highlighted for some of the Stacks entities also, okay, we need to start thinking differently, and we can't silo Bitcoin or specific features in Bitcoin. We can't create a walled garden like a Samsung or an Apple. We need to make it interoperable with other layers. So yeah, that's what drew me to Stacks. And then I'll talk about Layer Zoo a bit later as well. It's something we started a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I want to know about that. I saw it. I was like, ooh, what is this?
Yeah. So
do you know, I love a bit of an NFT, and I'm a hell of a collector. My Friday jam with my son is opening Pokemon cards.
Well, yeah. Well, this is what made
I collect my skins. I'm like,
this is exactly what made me realize.
That's the thing. My dad was a wine collector and a stamp collector. So I grew up with those, the joy of this, this book that I would sit for hours with my dad going through it, and, and watching that over 20 years, 30 years change. I mean,
I grew up in a mining town. We didn't have anything fancy like that.
Like stamps and wine.
No.
But so I, for me, collecting was just like something I naturally kind of fell into. And so when I came across NFTs, I was just like, oh my God, because the pain of collecting things, and you've got to keep them, like all the Pokemon cards, you have to keep them. And if you open one and it's like
they've got to be pristine, otherwise it's worth less.
Right. And then, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes. And I mean, the most expensive card ever sold is a sports card, sold for $50 million piece of cardboard. So you look at these things, and I mean, they sell some of the, $200,000, $300,000, $1 million, $1.5 million for these cards. So I always look at, my husband also looks at me and he's like, what are you doing? And I keep saying to him, watch one day, watch.
You're so right. To me, I had that mindset of, this is nonsense. It's a piece of card. But again, like I said, I want to understand. I want to try and get inside people's heads. Like, what are you seeing in this? And I realized it's not about the card. It's about a position in a community. That's what it's about. It's about reaching a level. It's like people who play games, kids who play games. I'm like, what does it matter if you're on level 1 or level 10? One's more difficult than the other. It doesn't really matter. But it's the achievement. It's the, it's reaching the goal.
If you look at your skins, your gaming skins, like my early Fortnite skins, I hate the fact that I don't own them and they're not in a wallet. I mean, people buy them because they're vintage. You can still, buy and sell these things, but I don't own it. And if Fortnite goes tits up, that's my, and I've got videos of my son like sitting on the back of a motorbike in Fortnite. We'll literally say, he'll go, oh, look, that's when I was driving you around on a motorbike when I was 9. I mean, it's ridiculous, but those are memories as well.
I've been told how much my son's Fortnite account is worth, and I was like, what the fuck have you spent all that money on? But anyway, that's a whole different conversation.
But you can't even think of that. But so that is where these things have value. People have been creating and collecting art since, that's, if you look at pottery, jewelry, it's something that I think I've just written about it, is that money is cold unless it has art. Money, there's no evidence of our time here unless we have art. And we've been doing it since the beginning of time, from, drawing in sand, drawing in cave art, and that's what our human evidence is, writing.
Remind me to never share a bottle of wine with you.
I don't drink, so you're very lucky. But
because we will get really philosophical then. But I agree with you.
Okay, we're going to do another show. I'm inviting you to do a philosophical show. You can drink a bottle of wine, and I'll sit here with my cool drink. So look.
But so just on that point. So, and this is the thing that I saw. And again, I'm a Bitcoiner, and it sort of switched on that I don't necessarily need to agree or see the value in NFTs or collectibles or any of these other things. And And even though it's not a money thing where I can make money out of it either, what I can do is I can say to somebody that's on another blockchain, listen, you don't need to be on that blockchain because you can now do exactly what you're doing there, better, faster, cheaper, and more secure on a Bitcoin native blockchain. So for me, the reason why we're adding all of these things, because a lot of the hardcore guys, I mean, I know sort of some very hardcore Bitcoin people, and they berate me for it, like you're a shitcoiner, and I'm like, well, I'd rather give people that market is there. People are doing it. Look at how big these blockchains are. I'd rather have them come and join the real one. So that's the reason why I sort of got into the whole NFT thing.
The original why stacks question.
yeah, and we were looking at because something that really irritates me about Spaces and crypto Twitter X is the amount of people that get onboarded into something, right? Call it Web3, NFT, whatever, project this, project that, who don't have a clue what they're doing. They've got no idea. And it's the blind leading the blind. Within a space of a week or two, they become influencers and marketers and content creators and God knows what else. And then it just sort of, it cascades. It becomes a complete mess. Yeah. So I was talking to, is it Freddie and Nick from Stacks Africa. And this is how it came about. It was conversations that I was having on Spaces with them, where I was saying to them, the big problem here is that the whole onboarding process is wrong. The whole way that stuff is being introduced to people is wrong. And we have to come up with a solution to that. If we want sustainable products, if we want sustainable projects, we need to fix that. And, we were talking about it back and forth, and then we said, okay, how do we fix it? I'll get onto the Layer Zoo thing now. How do we fix that? And I was like, okay, the way I see it is we have to be able to compete with buy this NFT on the new NFT on Sol, and, you're going to become rich because it's going to be worth the pump and dumps. How do we compete with that excitement? So we said, okay, well, we need a community, but we need to find a way to reward the community from the community's own pocket. But it has to be through an educational experience, so that if you join something and you do something and you don't end up being rewarded in cash, you look at it and go, well, hang on, I've learned so much. I don't actually care that I didn't make money out of an NFT, because I now know a lot more about blockchain, about Bitcoin, about UTXOs, and all the buzzwords. I now know a lot of these things. So I can now actually onboard somebody into a Web3 project by explaining Bitcoin first and explaining to them why we got to where we are. So yeah, we came up with this idea of Layer Zoo, and he created 99 artworks for us, and we said, okay, we minted them on Stacks.
Was this Freddie? Did that?
Yeah, this was Nick Colosso.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he created the artwork, and the idea is that Layer Zoo will be different NFT collections. So there'll be a collection for Bitcoin, there'll be a collection for Stacks, there'll be a collection for Rootstock, Spark, Arc. Each one will have its own collection, its own lore, its own story around that collection. But it's a community project, so nobody's going to make money out of this. This is something where we all contribute to the website. Like you'll see, it's half-baked, but we published it, and it's open source on GitHub. So if you want to add stuff, then add stuff. That's the approach we're taking. But anyway, we've got these 99 NFTs, and we went a bit old school to the original blog that Satoshi used. We went to Bitcoin Talk and started the competition on there, so we created a treasure hunt where all you need to do is you need to identify the one truly unique NFT out of the 99. Obviously, they're all unique, but there's one of them that's special, that's really unique. Yeah. So you just need to identify which one it is. And
who owns the NFTs? Have they been minted? Where are they? Just let's go back.
They've all been minted. I'll get to how they're distributed in a minute. They've all been minted. So we didn't want people to spend money or put any value to them. I'll get onto the distribution in a second. So all you need to do is you need to identify which NFT it is, and you win $5,000. That's it. Simple as that. And we can pay it in whatever Bitcoin denomination you want. Bitcoin stacks, roots, whatever. You win $5,000.
I'm going to go and do my zoo thing.
Yeah, okay, it's not going to be that easy. In order to be able to identify it, you are literally going to take yourself through school. Because if you don't understand how NFTs work, if you don't understand all the different mechanics around it, then it's highly unlikely that you'll be able to find it. It's not one of those things where you can just print them all off and look at them like those things you get in the back of the report where you have to spot the difference. It's not one of those. No, it's way more. It's way more intricate. Yeah, and okay, so now to the distribution. Yeah, so the distribution, we've minted the 99, and to earn one, you have to go and do an X post that says, how did I hear about Layer Zoo project? What do I like or dislike about it? And what do I want to get out of it? So it's 3 posts in a thread. You've got to then post it in the Telegram group, and then you've got to do this. I think there's one more. You've got to post a question on the Bitcoin Talk forum. So what that already does is that now creates this thing where people are learning about Telegram, because lots of people, I can't post on Bitcoin Talk, and then people will talk in Telegram and explain, well, you're on a evil IP. So now that becomes a VPN conversation, and or people will say, I can't sell on Gamma. Well, why not? Because you can't connect. Why can you not connect? Oh, because the wallet doesn't do this. So how do I do that? So it sort of sparks all these different things that actually is not Bitcoin related, but it's technology related. The one conversation the other day was people about Telegram and how important it is, and X, how important it is to actually value your reputation and the quality of your account, and not just have 10 different accounts. Yep. So people are learning and they're asking questions. One of the questions that came out was very interesting. So on Layer Zoo, for example, and I'm jumping slightly now, but I need to mention this one. So one of the questions came out. This guy was like, he's a growth strategist and a leader in some other project. And I think it was Freddie who asked him, okay, well, you're talking about these coins and tokens. What's the difference between a coin and a token? And this guy couldn't answer him.
Yeah.
He literally could not answer him. And then the community started jumping in, and they all started giving different answers and wrong answers. And in the end, I actually explained to them what the difference between a coin and a token is. And then everybody was like, okay, put that in the frequent asked questions. These are the kinds of things we need to tell people when we introduce them to new. So they sort of completely forgotten about the $5,000 prize. They're now busy on educating themselves. And it makes it sort of exciting to learn, because you're learning without realizing that you're learning. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is how we're distributing. And so, for example, the reason we kept it at 99 is we said to them, okay, so because people ask, why is it only 99? And again, unless you start trading these NFTs, unless you start posting them and selling them and other people buying them, it's unlikely that you'll solve the riddle. Now, you got them for free. So the idea is you get an NFT by doing this post, and then maybe there's 3 other people in your group, and all 3 of you have done it. Now you're sitting with 3 NFTs, but you only need one of them to be able to claim the prize. So you have to be a holder of any one of the 99 to claim the prize. So if there's 3 of you and you work together, 2 of you can go and sell them. And now you're actually giving utility to the NFT.
Right.
And that's how they'll go up in value. So it teaches people absolutely everything about all the different concepts of NFTs and how they work. And the amount of questions that come out of that is fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see how long it takes them. I did a similar treasure hunt. It was a long time ago. Again, probably like 8-9 years ago. And I think it took them 3 months to get to the answer. So yeah, we'll see how long this one takes.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm going to go and check it out. Yeah, That's very interesting. I'm now totally just thinking, And where did you mint them on? So did you put them on Gamma?
Stacks.
Is that where,
So
yeah. So
yeah, they're minted on Stacks, and yeah, they're on Gamma.
okay. And then have they all been distributed, or do you have to go?
No, no,
I see. So you can
I
still
think,
go now, and you can
yeah,
still earn one. So if you
yeah,
go
no,
over to
there's quite a few still to
So if you go over
earn.
to your X account, is that where they're going to find everything? Just in case
Uh,
people are listening now and making notes and being like, okay, how do I do this? Where
at
do they
Layer
go?
Zoo, the Twitter account at Layer Zoo. It's
Okay.
got all the links in there, and that takes you to the Telegram group. The Telegram group's got a nice little post with complete explainer telling you about Bitcoin talk. Because that's another thing, people will start, well, what's this Bitcoin talk thing? And I'm like, well, this was like the holy grail of Bitcoin communication. Like, this is where Satoshi was communicating with people. So, this is sort of something you need to know about if you're in Web3. I mean, how can you be in Web3 but not know about the origin of Bitcoin? It sort of doesn't make sense. You need to know the whole story. And yeah, it's nice. It ticks a lot of boxes to get people excited about doing stuff, and it builds real communities. We did a layers the space the Layer Zoo space the other day. What not to do in Web3. And we managed to get a lot of value to people where we're like explaining to them the mistakes they make when they just jump on and say, oh, I want to make money. Not everybody's going to get it, but the biggest mistake these guys are making is thinking, I'm going to join Web3 to make money. And then you go, okay, well, what value are you bringing to the ecosystem? And they can't answer you. And it's getting people to think.
I think one of the things I love about it is that, you just said now, I'm going to join Web3 and I'm going to make money. I think anybody with that kind of mindset is actually probably going to lose money, because it's not a case of just seeing someone on YouTube saying, go and buy this NFT, and then you rush off there because you're going to be the one who's actually lifting that pump up,
I keep saying to them, if you can't identify the product, you are the product. I keep saying it. I mean, I've got myself in a lot of trouble before. Oh, so you'll meet Louis as well. You've got to go to his talk. His talk is going to be good.
I'm going to come to all the talks. We're talking, by the way, if anybody, while we keep talking about the talks, is we mentioned this with Nick as well. This Thursday here in Cape Town is Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town. And we're all, Nick, myself, Gareth, we're all going to be there, and the people that Gareth is busy mentioning. So if you are in Cape Town, please come and say hi at Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town. You can head over, I think in both of our Twitter feeds, there'll be something that we've posted about it. So yeah, that's happening. It's starting this Thursday. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So yeah, he's doing it. He's actually going to have a talk about. So Louis, myself, and another guy got sued 2021 for 571 million rand. And the court case is still going. Oh, it's still going.
What the hell?
So it's this company. It's this guy. I don't know if you've heard of Carrot Bars. Anyway, so it's a pyramid scheme. Long and short of it, it's a pyramid scheme. And they're huge in South Africa because some of the top leaders are South African.
Oh my gosh.
They started, it's the same thing. They sort of start something and they roll it into something else, and then it goes bust, and then the next thing, but it's the same thing. And then you just let people along. So he's doing a whole talk on our experience with that. But yeah, it's still ongoing. They've recreated it into something else now because they ended up getting warnings from all over the world, from all the regulators, and then they just created, it's a Dubai-based thing. So, but yeah, they're quite prolific. I mean, they've had, Victor Matfield, Herschel Gibbs. These are the kind of people they got involved to promote these things. So anyway, we did a video.
It's another thing that drives me crazy, because this is what is giving this pristine, as Warren Wheatley calls it. And it's like, that's like taking a rock that you can either turn it into a tool or you can throw it at somebody's head and kill them. It's like It's not the thing. It's what people are doing with this thing. And, things like Facebook, my son's hairdresser, he knew I was involved with Bitcoin. And I said to him, if somebody comes to you and says, I can help you earn money with your Bitcoin, I can tell, I don't need to even know anything beyond that they're a scammer. Okay, because...
And he got into MTI, let me guess.
No.
Mm-hmm.
He met a woman on Facebook who said, I can help you. And he gave her his life savings because of the return. And he said to me, Shane,
I don't blame them because they're convincing.
Yes. That's the thing. Everything, and it was like one letter. I just said to him, look, let me look at everything. Give me the email. And it took me, literally less than 30 seconds, because all I did was open the email and there was just one letter, different in the email. But they were so smart, they had set up, if you emailed, it actually went to, an email account, came back with, a branding. And he was saying, but it's legitimate. And I was like, no. And then the big clue was he had invested, it was like 10x that she was saying that he had earned, and that she's going to pay it to him, but he must just take it out in chunks. And I said to him, look, have you ever looked at a Bitcoin graph? Not a graph. Yeah, what is it called?
Yeah, the chart.
Yeah, the chart. Like, nobody in a year has 10x on their Bitcoin,
Well,
shame. And so it's very sad.
And I feel sorry for these guys because, to be honest with you, a lot of these guys, we know them pretty well, and some of them, I'm not sure if they actually. I think in their minds, they believe they're doing nothing wrong, but some of them obviously know what they're doing. But the others, I think they might, in their minds, they might actually believe that they're doing nothing wrong. Because, like I said, they get these celebrities, they hold these seminars, and the way they do it, they hold these seminars. I don't want to go into Louis' whole thing, but they hold these seminars, and so we got done for defamation. Well, when I say done, they sued us for it. Because we made videos explaining the mechanics of exactly how their thing works, because they invite people to these Bitcoin seminars, learn about Bitcoin, and then they end up selling them these tokens that they've minted themselves and pumped the price. But pyramid scheme, basically, the more people, it's pretty much MTI, same thing. So, but anyway, be that as it may, they, the point I'm making is that we want to be able to give people those tools to sort of say, okay, these are the things that, if you hear this is going to be the reason why that's happening. Because a lot of it, if you just actually think about it and apply logic, then problem solved. Like, you don't need to be a maths genius to realize that 10% a month compounding, if these guys could have this magic machine that could make this money trading, then why don't they just borrow money from the bank, use their own money that they've borrowed, make an absolute hell of a fortune, and pay the bank back? Why do they need you? So anyway, if you can't identify the product, you are the product. That's the key takeaway.
I like that. So true. So yeah, I think that's why you need, and that's another thing we would, community is important. And I think, watching shows like this where they can look at the founder, find out, well, the co-founder, hello, Gareth, co-founder watching, that is one of the most important lessons when it comes to getting involved with new technology or with a new movement, or specifically when it comes to money, is go out, find out who the founder is, research the product, read more than one tweet, and you don't have to, if it is going to 10x in a week, it's dangerous. Rather stay away from it, because you're generally going to be the one that, how many people get it right? In all my years in crypto, I've got it right maybe once.
Things go right, they go wrong. I think for me, it's a question of understanding your risk. As long as you understand the risk you're taking, fine. Then because we all have different risk profiles. So as long as you're understanding your risk, then to me, it doesn't matter. But this is the problem. The majority of people don't, because again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Look, and and nobody's to blame about that. I don't think, no shade to anybody who has had their fingers burnt. I've had my wallet hacked. I've lost, after years of doing this.
Yeah.
I still, so, and I always, when people say to me, like, how are you not like lying on the floor crying? I'm like, to me, it was a lesson, and it's a lesson I'll never forget. And I'm aware of the fact that I am dipping my toes or jumping in actually with my whole body into something that is not quite built yet, so
You understand the risk, and you're matching it to your risk profile.
We can expect it to be a little bit topsy-turvy every now and then. But I think, I think what you're building is, I love it. I love the idea of, and I mean, I think we spoke about this at length on one of the spaces, just kind of simplifying. That was when I think one of the first times I met you, the idea of actually onboarding. I think you're passionate, if I'm right, about sort of onboarding people and kind of making it intuitive, or making that process almost exactly what we're talking about, the opposite of that, trying to write the Ponzi scheme language, the Ponzi scheme ideology, all of that stuff, by making it intuitive, as easy as possible. You don't have to learn how to operate a crypto exchange.
I'll tell you the one thing I completely forgot to tell you about, which is actually the real unique selling point of this wallet, is the stablecoin layer. Now, again, this is something that, man, I get a lot of flack for this, because again, the hardcore Bitcoiners, they think I'm a shit coiner. Poor Carl from Money Badger gets the same thing, where people give him shit for, like you were saying, he's providing an infrastructure where you as a client can pay with Bitcoin, but the merchant is still receiving Rand. And then the sort of hardcore Bitcoin crowd will go, well, what are you doing? You're just keeping them in the fiat environment. And what he's actually doing is he's taking one step closer. You can't just jump. He's only going one step closer, so it's a good thing. I mean, it can be a slippery slope, but he's doing the right thing.
Oh no, so, I'm all over it, because eventually we'll get there.
So I believe in the dollar, but you got to hear me out on this one. I think the dollar is a great thing, right?
Okay.
Now, it's a bit of a Trojan horse approach, but hear me out. So you go and onboard a guy in Nigeria, Kenya, even in South Africa. A lot of these people simply don't have they're not in a position financially to take on Bitcoin's volatility. They simply can't. I mean, somebody who can only save, I don't know, $50 a month, chances are that person is going to need that $300 saving after 6 months. They can't just go, but I'll hold on to it for 4 years. They can't. Would they be better off if they could? Chances are they would. If they bought Bitcoin, they probably would be okay after 4 years, because nobody that's ever bought Bitcoin and held on to it for 4 years has lost money. Nobody.
Yeah.
Up until today, not one single person that bought Bitcoin at whatever price and held it for 4 years have lost money. No one. So if they could, but that's not the reality. The reality that we live in is, you've got a Omar somewhere saving $50 a month, and the grandson now needs to pay for a car to go to university, whatever, life's emergencies. Now she's going to go and sell her Bitcoin potentially at a loss. So it's not ideal. So you've got to look at what's the best of the worst. The dollar is the best of the worst. It's the best of the fiat currencies. I mean, maybe over the last month, the Rand has strengthened, but the Rand hasn't actually strengthened. It's just the dollar that lost some value. But the point is, I'd rather onboard somebody instead of trying to explain banking technology and all of these things and cryptocurrency. It's a lot easier to sort of just shift the whole Bitcoin thing to the side and say, why don't you put your savings in dollars? Oh, but I can't, because where do I buy the dollars? Well, you can now go and download this wallet, pay with Rand, and download and hold dollars as a stable coin. It's easy to convert. Chances are it's not going to fluctuate that much. So for your specific use case, you probably, and this is not financial advice, but you're probably better off saving in dollar. And if there's now a function for you to use that dollar to earn Bitcoin interest, now there's a way for you to sort of get your head around the whole thing, use wallets, not way less risky than you just buying Bitcoin and holding Bitcoin. So to that end, we've created a stablecoin layer where you can now hold USD, which you can receive from any network. You can receive it from Tron, whatever, any network, Ethereum, and then it gets swapped in the back end to liquid USDT. So, I mean, this is also, once we're done with the whole thing, users can decide whether they want to hold it on USDC, on stacks, or whatever they want to, how they want to hold it. But the point is all the different stable coins end up as one stable coin in your wallet. And this leads me onto the money badger thing. And you can then spend that as Lightning. So if you, for example, you're saving $50 in USD on a stablecoin layer, now you can go and spend it at Pick and Pay as dollars, but we're using the Lightning rails. So you're holding USDT or USD, but you go and scan a QR code at Pick and Pay. Let's say it's 500 rands worth of stuff you're buying, then it takes the amount of USDT, converts it to Lightning, and pays the merchant. And you don't know about that. It just happens. So it all just happens in the back end.
But now, this is something that, I think about a lot, about stable coins. How different are they to central bank currencies? I mean, besides the fact that you could maybe hold it in your...
Depends what type of central... It depends on what type. How different are they in terms of the money in your bank account versus how different they are from the money in your wallet? So I would say, the dollar stable coin is pretty much the same as physical US dollars that you hold in your back pocket, with the difference being it's not. So in South Africa, you're not allowed to hold dollars. You can't hold $10,000 in physical dollars in South Africa. You have to sell it back to the bank when you come back from your holiday. Yeah. But you can hold $10,000 in stable coins. So it's got advantages. It's the same thing. It's a bit like how's Bitcoin different from gold. It has all the same qualities as gold and more. And the dollar stable coin has got all the same qualities as the dollar and more. That's the way I would see it. So, but essentially it's the same. It's representing the same thing. But there is advantages to having it. It's a lot easier for me to send dollar stable coin than it is to do a bank transfer. It's a lot cheaper. I can transfer it. It's a lot easier for me to DCA into Bitcoin with dollar stable coin than it is holding Rand. So it has a lot of advantages. And I'm not saying that this is where we should be. I see it as a really important stepping stone in order to get to that point where, Bitcoin is the reserve asset. I think this is the way we onboard people a lot easier. I don't have to talk to you about Bitcoin. I don't have to explain to you about blockchain, or I don't have to explain any of that. I can just literally say, hold dollar. You already know what the dollar is. And I'd rather hold dollars than Naira or shilling or whatever other currency there is.
No, look, I definitely see the value in it, because another complexity with Bitcoin is, it's like hold Bitcoin forever, but you can't do that to Bitcoin, because then that's going to it's not beneficial for Bitcoin. We have to keep it moving. So so with that math, it tells you, okay, we need something to onboard people, and exactly what I loved what you said just now as well. If you could have it made me think, if you could press a button and boom, all the fiat just disappeared, and now we were running on Bitcoin. I think that's a great way to make people think, like, okay, well, we couldn't actually, because we're not even close to being there, and then that's why stacks becomes important, and obviously all the other lot.
Exactly. I think it needs to be a gradual transition where the fiat world just becomes less and less relevant, and the digital money becomes more and more relevant. But it can't just be a swap one for the other. I don't think that's going to work. But again, and the nice thing with Bitcoin is there's nobody in charge. there's nobody that can say, oh, but this is what Bitcoin is, or this is what Bitcoin is not. So, and, it's nice when I actually like a lot of the maxis in terms of, I always say that they are the guys that sort of post that flag, and at least I know where the right is, the furthest I can go right. And it sort of gives you a nice a way to gauge where you're at.
We're all dancing somewhere in between that.
On that spectrum, exactly. Yeah. So it's a good thing. And I like the fact that, even if you are right over there, you can't tell me what to do.
Oh, I'm back. I disappeared. Are you there?
You switched seats with me. Oh, there we're back again.
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know what happened there. Welcome to Cape Town. The wind probably blew. It's like where I live. It's like the minute it blows a bit of wind, it's like, oh God, and I'm plugged into the wall. That's the thing. All dancing and close, in varying degrees from the purity and the pristine nature of Bitcoin. And that's the thing. I kind of come up a lot with the argument about ordinals, because I'm an early investor and huge fan of ordinals, but I come from a fine art background, so I understand how important varying degrees or varying use cases when it comes to money. We don't just, exactly how you said just now, we don't just go, okay, I'm going to buy your watch, okay, I'm going to sell you your watch. It's far greater than that, and now if I'm going to sell you my house, if I'm going to sell you a 20 million or a $10 million house or whatever it is, how are you going to want that contract to look? And that is an ordinal. That is what these things also represent, is provenance. And once you start understanding what provenance is and what NFTs look like on layers, those things, as much as with stacks, I think it's the closest that we are at with being able to take those contracts and put them somewhere as close as we can to Bitcoin. But if I'm going to sell you my house, I'm certainly not going to do it with an NFT on Sol,
No, exactly.
But what I am going to do is my contract will be an ordinal on Bitcoin, because now there's gold and money or wealth is split between, you've got your money, you've got gold, you've got money, you've got art, you've got cars, you've got luxury watches, and that's what people do with their money. They don't only just take gold and put it in a cupboard, or wherever they want to put it. So when you start looking at those things as well, where Bitcoin needs to start finding its feet, and going, we need to include so much more for this system. If I'm going to go to a financial advisor and say, okay, I've got $50,000 to save, he's not going to just take it all and, he's going to put it as well across a risk appetite. So lots of...
And exactly that. This is a very good point you're making there. It's the appetite, it's the position, because 10 different people will walk in there and they all have $50,000, but he's going to be a good financial advisor is literally going to be giving you 10 different products. Yes. They're not all going to get the same thing, because people are different.
Right. Yes, that's exactly right. And again, if you, the minute you start, another thing someone once said to me, which I love, is, talking about this pump and dumps just now and whatever. One of the only ways you can actually make money in Bitcoin / crypto, two different things, if I can just say that, is by earning it. Now, minute we start telling people you can earn Bitcoin, that's because people are scared of, and that's one of the ways I sort of encourage people when it comes to stacks, is, you can buy $100 of stacks. It's not a lot, and you get a lot of it, sorry. And then you can take that and you can use that and you can get Bitcoin as your savings. So, I think, and sort of looking at DeFi opportunities again, which you can't have just on Bitcoin. But the idea of using stacks to do that as well, Yeah,
Bitcoin only does one side. And that's what I was saying earlier. We need to look at all those different financial products, because Bitcoin does only one side of it. Like I was saying with the USD, you on there, you literally press one button, you've got $100, and now you're saying, okay, I want to save this. Now you're earning 5% interest, and that interest is streaming on a daily basis as lightning payments to you. So you know, on the other side of that, somebody needs to lend it and they need to lock Bitcoin up. So you need both.
Yeah.
You need both.
Yeah. What does onboarding in South Africa look like? What does South Africa look like in terms of using Bitcoin, spending Bitcoin? I had a great conversation with Nick about it the other day, but just your thoughts on it.
Look, it's tiny. The idea that it's huge, it's tiny. South Africa is the middle ground. So we're quite lucky, even though things are difficult. We're quite lucky in South Africa that, you know, systems actually do work. I mean, when there's power, but they do work, and we've got we're not that backward, right? You know, it's a hell of a big struggle, much bigger struggle in a place like Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
You know, I was there like maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I did some work there. No, it's even longer than that, probably 15. But anyway, the point is, there they've got people running around with backpacks full of cash. There's no ATMs, so you know, again, there's a spectrum, and it's the places that have the biggest pain that I think will adopt it first when the technology is easy and available enough. South Africa, America doesn't need it. America doesn't need another payment system. In the US, you simply don't need Bitcoin payments. You don't, because again, the UK? Why would you make your life difficult? So much easier to just pay with Apple Pay. So there's a different type of pain that they need to feel in order for them to adopt. But in terms of that sort of medium middle ground, I think this is where South Africa's at, and it's not huge. It's sort of comparable to El Salvador in terms of hype. But in terms of actual payments at merchants, it's tiny. I mean, it's not even. It's more of a marketing tool, even though they don't for some reason use it that well as a marketing tool. But it's more of a marketing tool than it is a money saver, because ultimately, you know, people come with the arguments about the percentage fees. Look, if credit card companies and debit card companies want to drop the fees, they can. It's not like they're going to go bust if they don't charge 2%. They could drop. In the UK, Revolut now charge business processing fees of 0.8%.
Sure.
As a merchant. Now, you can't beat that. Like, how are you going to beat that? So it's not a question of the will isn't there. So if the will was there, it would have dropped. The reason the will is not there is because of the powers that be. And this is the pain that people need to feel. Once they feel that pain, that's when they're going to start using Bitcoin as that insurance, as that tool to separate money and state. But there's a road to get there, and the only way to do that is by doing it step by step, where you're still promoting the main current value of Bitcoin, which is a store of value.
So before sort of last question, because I see I said to you before we started the show, you and me, this is supposed to be an hour. I know, you and me I think we came on 15 minutes late because we were chatting so much before we even went on. So beware, everybody else, stay away from us on Thursday. We're going to be talking. Just sort of the last, you know, we've spoken sort of around it, we've spoken to it, but just kind of in summary, what is that pain point? How do people adopt? There's so many ways, there's so many things we've said, or so many points of view about it. What is maybe that pain point? Or how do we kind of, just in summary, how do we get people to save Bitcoin, use Bitcoin?
The road to adoption is not education, it's understanding. And this is the biggest mistake we make. And you'll hear this in my talk. I spent more than 10 years educating people, telling them what they don't know. Nobody wants to be told what they don't know. Like, I didn't get that. For 10 years, I did everything wrong. My success rate would have been maybe 1 in 50, if even, maybe 1 in 100 would actually go, okay, yeah, let me learn more, let me download, let me buy, Now, I'd say it's probably 60 to 70% of people that I go, I talk to about Bitcoin. And this was all because of a guy called Santosh from a company called Bringen. And he sort of opened my eyes to it, and this was the bit that I needed to know before, in order to be way more successful with onboarding, is you need to understand the person first. You need to understand who that person is, what that person's position is, variables. You need to understand that person. Once you can do that, then you can see, then only will you be able to, because most people you meet, you spend 5 minutes talking to them max. How are you going to tell somebody about Bitcoin in 5 minutes? That's not possible. So the way to do it, in my view,
especially
exactly,
when you are a Bitcoin, you're gonna listen to me. I know it's been an hour, but trust me.
And then when people want, and the thing is, when you start taking the Bitcoiner approach, if you want to call it that I was doing for 10 years, all you're really doing is creating arguments. Because you're starting off with how the government is screwing everybody, and then immediately they think, okay, you're some nutcase with a tinfoil hat and, conspiracy theorist, and, or you tell them about how the banks are screwing, and nobody wants to talk about money. Really think about it. Nobody really wants to have a conversation with anyone about money. It's the most boring thing. It's a personal thing. It's not something you want to do. So you got to stay away from talking about money. You got to stay away talking about blockchain and crypto. Because that's either a scam. Because that's either a scam or it's completely going over their heads because what's this technology? I don't like computers. That I've had that so many times. I don't like computers. I don't deal with computers. So you've got to take a completely different approach. You need to understand where people are at, and then you just simply need to use analogies that make sense to them to spark a emotional connection. And if you can achieve that, if you can talk to somebody for 2 minutes, understand where they're at, and be able to spark that emotional connection between something they hold dear and Bitcoin, that once you've created that, all you then need to do is just give them contact details, and they will, like I said, I reckon 70% in my experience will come back, and sometimes after a month, we talked about that the other day. I was thinking about it, and then it's there. Then you've onboarded them. The minute somebody says, I was thinking about it, you've done your job. And I suppose that to me that's the key way of onboarding. I don't think there's a specific golden bullet to do it. There is no right way. But it's more about the approach that you take. And I think that to me is the key thing, because our approach has been too educational, in the sense that we want to educate somebody right now and get them to agree with us, and that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
We need to. No, I hear you. It's 100%. There's a meme which is one of my favorite things. I don't know if you watch The Simpsons, but Rolf from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And there's a meme of him being lobbed through a window of his house and flying through. And it says, me being returned by my kidnappers after talking about Bitcoin for 3 hours.
And there you go.
Yeah, that is.
And I get to the point where I'm like, but don't you understand? Don't you see what the world is doing to you? Don't you get it? You're moaning about this, you're moaning about that. And I've had this with family. Oof, do not do the Bitcoin thing with family, because, man, it just never ends well. Because and again, you don't know what you don't know. But how many people like to be told they're dumb? None of us. So, I think that's the. I might be all excited about something I discovered, but you're not going to be taking it that way. So
it's like me and my stamps that you don't care about. It's pretty much me trying to say to you, like that with my dad's stamps, and
exactly.
Going, you have to collect stamps. You don't understand; they're valuable, and they're just gonna be looking at you and be like, I don't like stamps. I don't know why you.
But you know what you did. You know what you did earlier. You were talking about you and your son, the Fortnite.
Fortnite.
No, the Fortnite on the motorbike.
Yeah,
that's exactly where you did it. You created that emotional connection, because immediately I think of stuff I do with my son.
Right.
Now I'm open to what you've got to tell me, because you've connected with me, and I think that's the trick. That's the trick. If you can do that, then and this is what the scammers are good at. Unfortunately, they are very good at that.
Yes. Yeah.
They connect with people who are desperate. They can. This is not just in crypto. This is in life. these sort of jet-setting, champagne drinking, laptop lifestyle, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Bugatti, shoes with no socks and a fancy suit in Dubai. They get people with it.
Yep.
So they create that emotional.
Marketing. That's the thing. I come from marketing and advertising background before my fine art background, and I know it's just selling. That's what modern day influencers are. It's like, look at me, I'm so fabulous. Now I'm going to take my lights down, and so
you're selling the experience. You're not selling the product. You're selling the experience. And that's what we've struggled with, because as Bitcoiners, and I'm somewhere on that spectrum, because sometimes social cues don't register. And I think most of us are like that. We sort of just go, these are the facts. This is the black and white stuff. Like, how can you not understand this?
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's I think it's just Bitcoiners and neurodivergent people are all the same thing. Because you go down the rabbit hole, that's what you do. But talking about experiences, I don't know if you heard me say it. I said it last week as well, but it's something you've sort of, in what you've said now, made me think about it even more, is what I did, because I've been trying to tell my girlfriends, none of them actually even want to talk to me anymore, because they just run away. Because now my son said to me, Mom, you got to stop it, because it started with Bitcoin, then it was artificial intelligence, because I was working with somebody training like years ago, is that right? Is it wrong? Is it right? How just basically stop thing. And then it was investing in astrogeography and astro development, and investing in what they're building on the moon. And my son was just like, Mom, shh, can't tell people anymore what you like and what you're doing. So he had to fill in a form at school for an oral, and it said, what does your mom do?
Oh my.
She's a hard worker. I don't know what to say. I can't, Anyway, so I'm a hard worker, according to my family. But anyway.
My kids say he's on the phone. That's he works on a phone. Like, what is it? He works on the phone.
Oh, that's so funny. Anyway. Well, I'm looking very much forward to seeing you on Thursday and meeting you in person.
Yeah. And I think we'll have fun.
Yeah, and thank you so much.
Have you RSVP'd for Friday night? I just got a message through saying that, apparently you need to fill something in. I just got a text here.
I think I was the first person to RSVP. I'm so excited. I've got like a ping on my phone. I was like,
oh, well done.
Yeah. So
well done.
I've never done anything like this before. I've never left my family by myself. Like I go everywhere with my husband.
Yeah.
And I've never been away from my son and he's 13. I've never I've dragged him wherever we went. He's like, come with, from a baby in his little chair underneath the table in the restaurant, So, but like I said to you, I'm going to be I'm having like a full-on swim in Lake Me and Lake Bitcoin this weekend.
Nice. Oh, fantastic. Well, that'll be fun. Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. We'll have fun. All right.
Yes, so is there anything you want to leave us with? Just sort of what's next for Layers? What's happening right now with Layers? You've got Layer Zoo. So let's just tell people, sort of in summary, Layers, where to go, how to connect.
Yeah, so you can just look at my X handle. I've got it there on the screen, so at Gareth Grobler. Have a look on the link trees there with all the links. You can go and download the wallet, try it out, let us know what you think. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of functionality that we want to add to it. We've got this great vision for it, so it takes time. So we are building and we sort of ship updates on a weekly basis. But yeah, the main things coming is completing that vision that we have for the dollar layer. We've got another Bitcoin layer 2 coming online. So my sort of co-founders, he's like really integrated into the sort of bowels of Bitcoin development. So we were one of the first wallets to do the testing for Spark and actually help develop it, not Spark Arc. So we I think we'll be the first to deliver this layer 2 as well. So yeah, we're looking at at adding as much as we can and let users decide, because ultimately, our main focus when we sat and decided to start this thing, we said, okay, there's two things that's sort of golden absolutes. We need to enjoy what we're doing, and we need to add value to the Bitcoin ecosystem. And as long as we keep doing that, then I think the development, we can let users decide based on their needs where we take it. But for now, we just want to build out and deliver on that initial vision that we have. And like I said, there's lots of little things that we still need to add. We want to integrate hardware wallets. We've got a browser extension that's built and working, but it doesn't look as nice as the app yet. There's a lot of work to do. But yeah, like I said, we're shipping on a weekly basis, so it's actually quite fun seeing new things happening every day.
Yeah, that's amazing. So follow along and watch what he's doing, because it doesn't matter if it's not perfect.
And join in, and join in.
Exactly. Join in.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, again, it's open source, 100% open source. So anybody can add ideas, code, whatever. No, that's that. Again, it's what you said earlier. And I think that's a really important thing, is people need to learn from each other and create communities around their interests rather than the central interest of creating a community around money. For some it's stamps,
Pokemon cards, Fortnite.
I won't give you shit about the stamp collecting anymore.
That was my dad. Okay, that was not me. I'm Pokemon cards. And
now, my son did that Pokemon stuff until I realized how much that costs, and I was like, no, this stops. This is nonsense. This is not happening. Use your own money.
It's crazy. Well, so that's another thing. I've said to my son, here's your pocket money now. Connected it to a crypto wallet, and I've said you can either buy, well, he earns Robux because he's works as a little dev, but you can either buy in-game currencies, food at the tuck shop, or Bitcoin. You do it. You decide. So I've just started it this year, so I'm going to be interested to see how.
Yeah, that's clever. Yeah. Look, I know we need to finish off, but that's another big problem in the world. Nobody gets financial. I actually tweeted it today. Nobody gets financial education. Yeah, you do a bit of economy at school, but nobody really explains how credit cards work until you sort of realize, shit, I'm in so much debt, I need to go and ask my dad to help me out. Like, nobody does. Like, there's no, it's just a tap and go. There's no, you need to understand how things work before sort of just letting them go. I mean, we don't just give people guns and cars and go, yeah, there you go. You sort of need to learn how to use it first.
Unless you're in America. I don't hate you, America.
Well,
but yes, that's another show. Okay, listen, this was supposed to be...
That's another 3 shows. All right, we're done.
All right, we'll have to have a monthly Gareth and Mel special. All right, amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you guys watching it enjoyed it as much as I think we both did. I hope you did as well, Gareth.
Yeah, I did. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Amazing. And so, thanks for joining us. This has been Stacks Pulse. I'm Melanie Carstens. I've been chatting to Gareth Grobler. He is the builder of Layers Wallet. There is the X handle underneath his name at the bottom. So go check it out. And I'll see you next week, Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Thank you very much for joining. Have a beautiful day. Bye.